Hey everybody, Goosebumps for Dummies here, back again with another video. This time talking about Goosebumps Triple Header. Finally, it has been a very long road to actually talking about this book. And I actually believe this is my 101st book review, so this is a great way to start up the next 100. Yeah, this is a very interesting read. Because a lot of people dislike this book, I've heard, or at least some stories in it, specifically story 1 and a little bit of story 3, but mostly story 1. But I'll hear a lot of positivity towards story 1 at the same time. I know there's a couple people who do not like it. I've seen it across various platforms, but I know there's a lot of people who do really like it. So we're going to see where I fall in this ballpark for all 3 stories, of course. And disclaimer, I'm not actually going to be ranking the stories at the end of this video like I do in the Tales videos, because I'm going to save that for a way later date, probably later this year, as well as book 2, which is coming out very soon for my review. And yeah, I want to rank them all in one video and just do a little special for that, probably for some holiday or something. We'll have to wait and see what I come up with, but yeah, we'll be doing that later in the year, maybe sooner, who knows. I don't really have it scheduled, say that. So maybe August and beyond. So expect it sometime there. And there is a prologue, and there's 3 stories. And actually, none of these are going to be in the downside segments. So we won't be doing it like Tales book reviews, where I put Tales that I like in the upsides and Tales I dislike in the downsides. They're all in the upsides. So we'll talk about stuff I didn't like about them in the downsides. So sorry for the rambling. Let's move on to the book review. And now for the blurb. Triple header. It's 1, 2, 3 times the scares. It's the story of a family about to receive a visit from beyond the grave. It's the story of 2 alien beings so disgusting it'll turn your stomach inside out. It's the story of a game show so deadly you'll never watch television the same way again. And that's all it says. So, yeah, I am a big fan of this first triple header book. I actually really liked all 3 stories decent a bit. Some more than others, as you'll see when we get to story 3, which is right up my alley, weird enough, because it's an alien story. And the stories in this book are titled, I know the first one's Ghost Granning, the second one is Spin the Wheel of Horror, which may or may not be my favorite, and Teenage Sponge Boys from Outer Space. Yeah, Teenage Sponge Boys from Outer Space. You heard that right, you're not high. Maybe you are, but you're not that high. Very interesting title for that last one, but I was open when I came into this book, and I was left pleasantly surprised by all 3. All 3 I actually really enjoyed to some extent, some more than others, like I said. And yeah, we're now going to talk about what I liked about those stories, and of course the prologue. So what did I like about the book? Well, the prologue in particular is really nice. It introduced the characters of Slim, Lefty, and Righty. And they're actually the monster on the cover, the triple header himself, the man, the myth, the legends, or the men, the myths, the legends, to be particularly correct. And they're on the back of the cover too, and they're also on book 2's cover, and book 3's canceled. It's a cancel book cover. And yeah, they're very interesting characters. I like them here. They argue a lot, but they're cool, they're quirky, and they work. And yeah, they're the storytellers, and they're the ones telling the stories, and it kind of works like Hall of Horrors, only it's a collection of 3 in one book. So yeah. So, the stories they tell here in particular, I really liked. Starting off with Ghost Granny. So Ghost Granny was actually, it had some things I disliked about it, like particularly some really gross stuff. This granny is so harsh and rude, I kind of love it. Like, she's the most easy to hate character. So basically, it's this family, and their granny is just deceased, and this particular child really hated that grandma because she was an asshole. Like, you really get to see why she thinks that. This grandma is a genuine dickhead. Fuck her. I mean it. I might sound rude, but she is genuinely despicable, and I love it. So, yeah, she dies, very deservingly, of course. And, it turns out she's not entirely gone, as the title might suggest. You know, Ghost Granny, I wonder! And it goes on from there in a very interesting fashion. Though it ain't the craziest of the 3, it is probably the second best I'd give it. I think it's a very interesting story. Though it ain't absolutely stunning, I think it did a good job for 40 pages as a ghost story. It had a nice, cool ending, but I really liked it. It was pretty dark, too. Sorry, I have a runny nose. Anyways. second story in here is my favorite. I'm gonna give this one, minor spoiler, probably like a 9 out of 10, because this one was really, fuck, my nose itches, sorry. This one's really horrifying, like, I mean it. So, in case you're not aware, I know it's a kind of weird thing to bring up, Goosebumps Horrorland, or One Day at Horrorland, Part 2, the episode, it shares some strong similarities to this one. And the similarities kind of cut short when it comes to the episode being very comedic and disappointing compared to the first, even if the first wasn't very good. And actually, it was downright shameful and disgraceful to the source material, Horrorland, which is a great book, and they just flipped it over and made a pile of shit. Well, this does that episode kind of justice. Like, it makes a better version of it. And yeah, that's what this does for me. That's why I kind of like it more. I'm kind of biased, I guess you can say, in that kind of sense, a little bit. But yeah, this tale follows a family, and they got selected to be on a game show that they really like, Spin the Wheel of Horror. And it goes as well as you expect, because some crazy shit starts happening like on a TV show, but they realize that this is very real feeling. And some of the things involve snakes and hotel. There's a hotel segment, which takes almost the book. There's an elevator crash, I believe, and or something like that. It gets into the basement, and I kid you not, there's one of the scariest, most frightening, and disgusting, in a good way this time, not like Ghost Granny, scenes in all of Goosebumps, alright? It is gross, and that is the pool scene. If you know what I mean, you fucking know. Alright, explanation. This pool is so disgusting. It's moldy, it's got gunk all over it, it's got pus and moss, and who knows what's living down there. It could be sharks for all I fucking know, because out comes a giant fucking monster, and this monster is described very eerily. I actually think this monster looks terrifying. And it starts chasing him around the pool. So they're in this disgusting, dirty room, like, filled with mold and moss and disgusting green gunk everywhere, and they're being chased by this horrifying monster, and eventually they fall into the pool. Like, this monster can not only beat their ass, but now they're actually falling into the pool of gunk where they're, I don't know, maybe it's full of acid for all I know. But no, it turns out that they're sent back to the game show, and from there it has a very interesting ending. And yeah, I really liked that. I thought it was a really good story. It had a lot of horror, which is what completely drove that story home for me. Yeah, it was a really good one. But the third one, however, is not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite here. But I still enjoyed it a fair bit. And that is Teenage Sponge Boys from Outer Space, which follows two kids who may or may not find a crashed alien space shuttle in the woods and are forced into helping these aliens that they discover repair it. And these aliens are disguising themselves as kids at school. And Sponge is a very good way to describe them, because you cannot hit these guys, really. They're sponge-like, you know, they're spongy. Spongy 444. They're spongy. Yeah, shout out to Spongy 444. Anyways. Yeah, these sponge guys are really fucking weird. You know, they SpongeBobs, you want to call them. I think they're very interesting characters, and they're a genuine threat. But the real highlight here is probably the climax, when these kids are so tired of being forced to do these horrible acts, like taking shit from their families and stuff, and stealing stuff to repair the ship, that they actually find a way to beat these motherfuckers, and I think that's really cool. And it doesn't end up well, I'll just say that. And yeah, it has a very interesting story, and I really liked where, though not being my favorite, it was still good, and I really recommend it. Now, triple header, though I might have just described it to be a fantastic book, it has a few issues. Starting with Ghost Granny. It was so disgusting at times. It was kind of hard to read. It's like strained peas, and whenever I get to that Tales review, very soon, because I'm actually reviewing Tales Book 1 very soon, so stay tuned for that. Strained Peas had this similar issue, so kind of giving you a hint there. This is so disgusting, it's not even good. Like, it's not even funny. It's not even enjoyable. This is just downright disgusting, like, awful to read. It's just, like dentures falling in the milk carton, and you're like, you can still drink the milk. Ugh. Ugh. It involves like bodily fluids and shit from the grandma, maybe like saliva getting on his face. It's so gross, dude. It's disgusting. I hate it. Ugh. And also, the grandma was annoying at times in that story, particularly. That's all I'll say. The New World Horror I had no real issues with. I just think it could have been more of a story instead of just event after event happening. Like, oh, spooky shit after spooky shit. And all that spooky shit was amazing. Like, some top-tier Goosebumps spooky shit. Series 2000, like, it could have been better. Like, more of a plot. But it was still decent. It was very, well, not decent, but a fantastic read. But not a 10 out of 10, to be fair. Teenage Sponge Boys is an interesting case, because this one I didn't have any big issues with. Just the small things, like, the mechanics of the Sponge Boys themselves are kind of, you know, expected. In the climax, I'll say that. The climax wasn't that great, but I still enjoyed it. I think the tale could have been a bit better. And there's an added-on couple, I think, like a chapter or something that has, like, maybe a return of the Sponge Boys, and it's kind of dumb. I don't think that needs to be in there. And yeah, just the small things that bug me with that one, and of course it not being really that great. And yeah, also the weather thing was really unneeded character thing, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, that's really it for my downsides with the book. Some of the stories had some small issues, or rather things that nagged at me a little bit. Nothing's really wrong with them. Maybe could have been longer in some of them. I think Spin the Wheel of Horror could have been a bit longer, maybe. And Sponge Boys could have been a bit, maybe even shorter? I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely maybe some length issues if I had to throw anything else out there. But either way, I enjoyed all three stories almost equally. And now it's time to rate them and the book as a whole. So, Triple Header Book 1 gets an 8 out of 10. I really like Triple Header Book 1. Book 2, I can't remember if I actually put this one higher or lower, but I know it's actually really close in scores. But Book 1 I really liked overall. I thought it was really good. It had some good stories. It even had an alien story, which I massively appreciate. That's my kink for Goosebumps besides mirror horror, which there isn't much of, so I'll have to work with what I got. It's mirror horror. Anyways, yeah, so the book overall gets an 8 out of 10, but the stories individually, starting with the first one, Ghost Granny, that one gets an 8 out of 10. Really like that one. Spin the Wheel of Horror, already said this, 9 out of 10. Being the highest. And Sponge Boys, I'm actually just going to give it 7.5. It's the weakest, but not by much. I still think it's a really enjoyable story. And who knows, probably in the future I might even move it up, because it is still a really good story. And I really like the alien aspects and the body horror of it. It's really creepy. And yeah, that's going to conclude this book review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you think about this book below. And yeah, tell me when you also might want to see that ranking video for all the tales. Anyways, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.